Hello, loafers and tiny little crumbs. It's Carla, and I'm excited to be kicking off a sandwich marathon. Not only sandwiches, but in this lineup, you're going to get wraps. You're going to get crispy things. You're going to get quickles. There's ranch dressings. There's Caesar dressings. There's other magical dressings that you don't even know about, but they all belong in sandwiches. Making a sandwich is an art. It's an art that I feel strongly about, and frankly, I think I'm pretty good at it. So I would get yourself a fresh jar of crunchy pickles, maybe some salt and vinegar chips, and get ready to crunch through all of these sandos. Today I stand before you with the strength of 1,000 Roman dictators to demonstrate a recipe that many of you will yell at me about. That's correct. Today I will demonstrate my chicken Caesar salad wrap. Recently I reached out to all of you for help on the recipe development for my chicken Caesar salad wrap. I got lots and lots of comments. Some of them I really took to heart. Other of them were totally insane. This wrap is about choices. Life is about choices. Life is about opinions. And in my opinion, the chicken Caesar salad wrap should be made with boneless, skinless chicken thighs. I have here 2 packages of boneless, skinless chicken thighs. I have a skillet that is preheating. I have an oven that is on 400 degrees. Of course, we're going to season the chicken. A lot of people have a lot of different feelings about the chicken that should be in the wrap. One of the most disturbing videos that I watched instructed ordinary people like you and me to go to the store and buy a Caesar salad mix, which has a pre-made dressing and dried out shavings of parm, and to dump that in a bowl and then rip apart a rotisserie chicken. That is bad, flavorless, dry, and terrible. Chicken thighs are fatty, juicy, delicious, and when they're homemade, you really get to cook them right. When I did the first version of this recipe that I was developing, I used skin on, bone in, because I was really after fat and flavor. You know me, love fat in this house. Chicken skin, some of the great fat. And it was delicious. The issue was skin on, bone in. Chicken thighs took like 22 minutes to cook, and there was a lot of chicken fat splatter. Kind of annoying. We are making a wrap. I do want you to do a little bit of work, but I don't want to absolutely trash your kitchen or mine. And it turns out, even when they're boneless and skinless, chicken thighs are always going to have a little bit of that underskinular fat attached to them, and that is ample. The reason we want chicken fat is because we are making our own croutons. And our croutons are not just going to be toasted in a toaster oven. These croutons are going to be toasted in chicken fat and chicken juices. Because I didn't want to handle the chicken too much, I only seasoned the side that went down. So now I'm going to season the bone side. We went skin side down. This is a little bit like Kill It on the First Side, KIOTFS, which the real ones know about. But if you don't, go watch my chicken thigh with the creamy, spicy coconut dressing. And while that is going, we shall create chicken fat fried croutons. You can use any kind of crusty bread, and I do want the crust as well as the inners. The size of the crouton and whether or not the crouton belongs in the wrap is one of the great debates of modern day. I have been accused of having a too large crouton, so I'm going a little bit smaller. I appreciate the feedback. So we're at like a 1/4 inch. We're gonna tear, we're gonna have shaggy edges, we're gonna have crispy bits. Some of you are extremely concerned about a sharp crouton poking through the wrap exterior and sharding you and cutting you in the face. This is a risk that you're gonna have to take. I'm gonna take a peek at these. We should be golden brown, and then I'm gonna tilt the pan to let some of the fat flow underneath, which is gonna help with browning. And these are already picking up some nice color. Some people requested charred chicken, spelled like Swiss chard, which I appreciate. This guy is coming along. I want juicy chicken. A lot of people wanted a cutlet, and a lot of other people wanted fried chicken. But am I gonna tell you guys to fry chicken at home? No, you're gonna already be so mad at me about 7 other things. Adding garlic. There is garlic in the Caesar dressing. Garlic is gonna flavor the chicken here. It's also gonna flavor the fat. That fat is gonna flavor the croutons. I have tried, wherever possible, to take it back to what this wrap is based on. This wrap is based on a Caesar salad. You know what's not in a Caesar salad? Tomatoes. You know what else isn't in a Caesar salad? Crispy chickpeas. You know what's not in a Caesar salad? Frickin' toasted sunflower seeds. Like, have you all gone completely mad? Crispy bacon was on the list, it was off the list, it was back on the list. We have chicken fat working hard for us. We have crispy croutons. I don't need cold congealed bacon. The TLDR on Cutlet on the first side, the top of the chicken is mostly cooked with just a little bit of rare chicken in the middle. So that second side is never gonna get as big of a browning payoff, but you're gonna get all the flavor development on this side. And because we're not overcooking our chicken, it shall be juicy. When the chicken is done, I'm gonna let it rest on this plate. All of the juices that accumulate are gonna end up fortifying the dressing, which is delicious. And I'm not putting piping hot chicken in a wrap because we need to preserve some integrity of our lettuce layer. I'm also gonna take out these garlics. You should save them. They have more life to live. This is filled with chicken fond, chicken fat, chicken browned. I am never ever gonna waste that, and I would never ever tell you to. I'm deglazing the pan with water. If you were making like a pan sauce, you might choose something like wine, but I'm not making a pan sauce. What I am making is a chicken fatty, chicken flavored, crouton bathing liquid. My croutons are soggy, gone crunchy, gone soggy again. That's right. This is a double sog, double crunch method that many of you may be upset about, and many other of you might open a chicken Caesar salad shack just to steal this idea. The crouton shall, the liquid frometh the pan into the interior of the crouton. Then the crouton is gonna go in the oven and it's gonna dry out, but it's gonna have chicken fat flavor infusion. I thought a lot about these croutons. I'll tell you that. So it's reduced now to the point where I'm just starting to see the surface of the pan peeking back through. So it's a very shallow layer. And I'm adding a little bit more olive oil. I was thinking about chicken juices a lot, and I was referencing mentally the famous roast chicken from Zoie Cafe that has a big piece of bread that sits underneath it and turns into a giant chicken crouton. My croutons have now soaked up those juices. They've picked up brown color. Remember, the chicken was seasoned. The fat came off the chicken. That had seasoning in it. Then the liquid had the seasoning from the chicken, so I'm not going totally insane with salt and pepper here. Crouton soldiers are gonna finish their journey. Mmm. Sizzling, sounding crispy, nice and brown. If they're not crisp now, when they go to soggy, they'll go to smushy. They have to be very crisp so that in crispy gone soggy, we still have a little crunch. More choices, chicken size choices. Some people have told me strips of a frickin' cutlet. Some other people said to put chicken nuggets in this thing. Other people said it had to be extremely shredded. What I want is for the size of the crouton and the size of the chicken to become one. Because when you bite in, and this is important, it should all be in the bite, right? They shall form the chicken crouton union. So you can see for juiciness, this is why we go with a thigh. Chicken choices, crouton choices, wrap choices, opinions. Who are you? What does it make you? What do you become? What wrap changed your life? What wrap ruined your life? Chicken reverie. A lot of comments about how terrible and sad dry chicken is in a Caesar wrap. We're keeping all the juices and all the crispy bits. The territories have now joined. We're really at the crux of the matter now. This is, to me, the foundation of the chicken Caesar salad. A lot of people out there think that salad means there should be a ton of lettuce in this bowl right now. I don't believe in that. Think more egg salad, tuna salad, right? Those salads don't have lettuce in them. So that, to me, is the chicken Caesar salad. Before I add the dressing, I'm just gonna season this and brighten her up with some lemon. Julius Caesar was born on my birthday, August 15th. And you know who else was born on my birthday? Julia Child. So it's me and Julia and Julius. And that sort of says everything you need to know about me. The dressing I am using today, I did not create. This Caesar dressing is from Leo Restaurant, and it is the greatest Caesar salad in the world, and it's in Brooklyn. That recipe for this masterpiece of a Caesar dressing is on food processing, and this is 1/3 cup, heaping. If we need more, we add more, because you know what we don't want? We don't want underdressed Caesar. Mixy mix. I guess this is the point when some of you weirdos would put your grapes in, and your cherry tomatoes, and your sunflower seeds, and your crispy chickpeas. Parm choices. Parm is a choice. A lot of people are expecting to see shavings, like visible, long shavings of parm. I'm going with blender parm. I love it. It goes everywhere. It's what is in the dressing. We have a short on blender parm alone, which is how committed I am to it. This makes 4 wraps. If you put, as some people have called for, mountains of shredded iceberg into this mixture, you can have it in 3 minutes, and then you can never have it again. That is why I do not put my lettuce in my mix. Heed my warning. Dress the lettuce separately. We've arrived at another very important choice. It is in the title of the recipe, the wrap. Very hard to find a good wrap, and one of the greatest pitfalls of a wrap is the wrap. They're dry, they're floury, they're processed, they're cold. What we have done here is we've gone to an esteemed wrap restaurant where they sell individual wraps. It is made fresh every day, it's pliable, it's gorgeous, it's bubbling. Your wrap needs to be at least 10 inches, preferably 12. And I have chosen to heat before I fill. The same skillet that I use for cooking chicken and making croutons is now Coliseum of wrap, where all wraps go to be warmed and then go into battle. Warm wrap, open heart, can't lose. I am getting into lettuce now. Strap in, take half a Zanny, whatever you need to do to get through this little bit. But the fact of the matter is, folks, I am treating my lettuce as part of the wrap architecture. I'm going to show you both ways because a lot of people really want to chop and toss, okay? So we're going to do it my way, and then we're going to do it a different way as a concession to the populace. My way does require another bowl because I believe the lettuces should be dressed independently and they should be perfect in their own right. It's the salad part of the Caesar salad. That's the chicken part of the Caesar salad. Also squeezing of lemon. That's how they do it at Leo. They dress the lettuces before they add the dressing. Why is there purple lettuce in my bowl? Whoever said hell no, radicchio, I appreciate the rhyme. I like something that's gonna stand up. To me, these 2 lettuces are the finest choice in the world. To others, a mountain of shredded iceberg, which is gonna just wilt when you look at it sideways, works for them. So I'm dressing my lettuces thusly. They should taste great on their own. The best thing to do is to put your lettuces down just slightly south of the diameter. So across the center. We want the whole thing pretty compact. That's a big thing in like how it eats. It comes out to be about a cup of the chicken mixture per wrap. So if you want to scoop it with a measuring cup, you can totally do that. If you were upset before, you're just gonna be just horrified now. I'm gonna put an anchovy down the middle. There is anchovy in the dressing. You can smash this up. Maybe I'm gonna do 2. Internal wrap sandwich. I should say internal salad sandwich, the salad hug. I'm squishing, I'm pushing. We're gonna sides in. If you can, using the thumb and the middle finger, or thumb and pointer, like with your side folds, give a little extra, like this is my center chamber, and just I got you. Now we are lifting up and over and tucking back, sequestering, tucking, holding, and then securely edges. You roll. Now I'm gonna chop in and deal with what you guys want. Also, people are saying that it should be 70% lettuce and 30% chicken, and I just think it should be like about equal salad to chicken. So I'm gonna take some of these perfectly dressed guys. I don't like it. I don't feel good about it. I'm doing it anyway. I heard it from a lot of people. I'm open-minded. Oh, I'm not. And we're gonna see how it goes. And I guess there's no fun salad hug to create, so you just put it in. Scoot it in a mound. No anchovy this time, okay? We tuck, we side corral. We close this side over, maintaining integrity, and we roll. Why, this guy's so much shorter. That's portable. That's nice, cute. These both cost the same amount. Which one would you order? I like it. I think it looks awesome. I think there's disbursement. I think there's everything. I think visual attraction. Also, we cut on a diagonal because we are not monsters in this house. No sog. We love a dip. We're gonna dip it. Doink. Oh, you monster. The sitting time and the resting time of the crouton is absolutely freaking magical. Fantastic. Okay. The name of my club is Crispy Salad Layer Embrace. The name of your club is Chop It All Up, Chop It All In. Such a small wrap at Chop It Up, Chop It In. It's not just the name of your club, it's actually the name of your restaurant. I don't know. Whatever. It's fine. I did this for you. I did it for all of you. I like any good leader. I did listen to your feedback. I took it in, and then like all good leaders do, I actually did what I wanted to do the whole time. If you are going to the restaurant called Chop It Up, Chop It In, drop an axe or a knife or any kind of a cutting instrument into our comments. If you prefer the warm embrace of a cold and crunchy salad embrace, hug emoji will do. Hello, my ranch hands. It's Carla, and I'm here again today in my kitchen for a brand new and very special recipe. Today I am making turkey sandwiches with secret ranch. But the secret in the secret ranch is shh. This ranch is everything that a ranch can be and so much more. I'm gonna show you exactly how I like to do it on a really summery, crunchy, juicy, messy sandwich, but we're also gonna go through all of the things that ranch can be used for. And there's no secret, there's a million of them. So stick with me, let's go do secret stuff. The core of the sandwich is the ranch. The thing that holds all of the ranches together is tangy and herby. Okay, that's like the foundational flavor of a ranch. Cypress Grove Humboldt Fog is tangy and herby. So it made total sense to me in my head to use Humboldt Fog to make ranch with, and it turns out I was right. It has no mayo. Not having mayo in this ranch makes the whole sauce like lighter and brighter and not so heavy on the palate. I don't need to convince you guys to love Humboldt Fog because every time I talk about this cheese, everybody goes crazy in my DMs and is like, Humboldt Fog, iconic, I love it, I love it, I love it. I know, it's a great cheese. I've been eating it for over a decade. It's delicious and beautiful, but like, how are you eating it? Did you ever put it in a ranch before? No, neither did I. So like, let's grow and expand our minds together. I have a beautiful 3-pound wheel. It also comes in 1-pound wheels, but you're probably just coming into this with a wedge that has already been cut by the cheesemonger for you. But God bless, get yourself a 3-pound wheel and you're gonna be like the most popular neighbor on the block. The iconic cross section. If by some miracle you have never had Humboldt Fog, there's this beautiful bloomy rind, totally edible. Below that bloomy rind, you have this really nice creamy layer. Below that is sort of the firm paste of the cheese, a layer of ash, and then like a palindrome, it repeats on the other side. It smells like really bright, fresh, green grass. That's gonna blend really nicely with the basil and the dill that are very like typical also in ranch. Nobody ever is mad at ranch. People once in a while might be mad at like a blue cheese dressing, which I feel like is ranch adjacent, but ranch itself, people pleaser. And now you have a secret. No one's gonna know. Then you get to tell them and blow their minds. Okay, I think this is about the size that I need. It's a 4-ounce piece, very typical size that you're gonna find out in the world. So we're gonna start with that one. And then I will just keep my delicious cheese tower nearby. As much as I love the rind on a bloomy cheese, I'm gonna cut it off because I want this to be nice and creamy. I'm really happy with myself that I raised children who will eat the rind of the cheese. It's like a goal in life that you don't realize you have until your child eats the rind of a cheese and you're like, wow. These obviously I would consider to be one of the great Scooby snacks. I just happen to have a bag of chips right here. Like goaty and chewy, delish. So for herbs, I'm using basil and dill. If you don't put dill in ranch, the ranch cops will get on you. And then basil, we're just in like the bright arena. I'm gonna use an immersion blender to blend this all up, which will make the sauce like a little more green. And obviously it's just like fast and easy. You can do an analog version of this. You don't need the equipment, but just go nice and small with your slices so that it blends evenly and it's everywhere and it's subtle and it's beautiful. Beautiful fresh basil. If you prefer to use something like tarragon, I think would be amazing. Chervil would be so good in this. Parsley would be really nice. Chives as well. Maybe half the amount of mint you could cut in. I'm gonna set a few of these nice big ones aside and they're gonna be part of the assembly of the sandwich. We'll do a little basil hat over there so we don't forget. 1/4 cup lightly packed. So now we're gonna get into the rest of the dairy. I'm using a combo of sour cream and buttermilk for my tangy and my blendy and my creamies. You could definitely use plain yogurt instead of the sour cream. If you don't have buttermilk, you could 100% use whole milk. You could use a plant-based milk and then just adjust the consistency with water as needed. You can also kind of fake a buttermilk. I think it's like for a cup of whole milk, a tablespoon of vinegar or lemon juice. And that will curdle the milk a tiny bit, but in a good and controlled way and give you a little bit of the tang. Now for more brightness and acidity, I'm gonna use the zest and the juice of this lemon, like half of it. And then the other half is gonna go into the slaw later. Very juicy. To really go ranchy, I'm also using ranch seasoning. You can find ranch seasoning in the supermarket. I threw this one together because I happen to have like all of the things that go into a typical ranch seasoning. 1 clove of garlic. Time for blending. All right, so we're beautifully blended, flecks of green, but also beautiful like green color to the sauce. So because the balance of the dry spice that you use is gonna vary, I really want you to taste and adjust the sauce. Actually pretty good. Dang. A little salt and peps. It's good. It's dilly and goaty. It's dilly goat. I'm gonna add a pinch of sugar, really typical in like any dressing you ever bought. It's like one of the great ways to kind of round out and balance something that isn't quite delicious enough. Whenever you make a dip or a dressing, you should taste it with the things that you're gonna use it with. Dipping a chip, because there's chips on this sandwich, and also this ranch dressing like could just be a dip. So even if you're just gonna have one sandwich, make the whole batch. This is something you just want to have in the fridge. Sandwich today, dip tomorrow, pizza dipped in ranch the next day. You know, there's a lot of life here. You could put on your sandwich lots of different layers of all the things that are in my slaw, but why not have them all in one thing? And then they're all together and it's really easy to put them on and their flavors blend. It's just better. I love pickles, period. So if you don't like a spicy pickle, just like get a pickle. So I'm just dicing them so that they'll mix into the slaw and not be like big hunky chunkies that slide all over the place. Then I'm going with crunchy things that stand up well to being tossed in a slaw: onion, fennel. So when you use a mandolin, you're tucking your fingers back just like if you were using a knife. But then also if you get down there and you feel uneasy or queasy, you can use a dish towel to hold the vegetable. But then after that, like honestly, just stop. These are torpedo onions that I got at the farmer's market last weekend. We're gonna try it on the mandolin. We're gonna see what happens. Things are happening. Stunning and gorgeous. This is that lemon that we zested. It's gonna make the slaw slaw-y. This is your bright and crunchy, vinegary, pickly. Bring it all together, hold that top bun down. I'm gonna do a drizzle of olive oil. So we have our oil and vinegar energy intact. And that's it for slaw. I think it's sandwich time. If it's sandwich time at home, I will do like a little extra thing and then everybody else in the fam sees my sandwich and they're a little jealous. Here's the secret. You should be putting chips in your sandwich. Your social security number, you should keep that secret. Don't tell anybody. But like, sometimes I do keep secret snacks. Like I do have some secret chocolate that nobody else knows about. If you are a total cheesehead and you love your Humboldt Fog like nobody's business, put a nice slice of Humboldt Fog somewhere here in the mix. I'm very happy with the balance of the Humboldt Fog in my ranch. So my next step is gonna be the basil that I set aside earlier. And I like the flatness and togetherness of this slaw. And then definitely more Secret Ranch on top. We want everybody saucy, drippy, delightful. It should be messy. That's also a joy of life, is like a messy sandwich. Here's a secret. I put up on my stories that you guys could vote on the bread that you wanted to see this sandwich made with, and you would think that everybody voted for this roll because that's what I'm using today. Actually, a different bread won the poll, but I made an executive decision that we were gonna be using this. The crunch. You have slaw crunch and you have chip crunch, and actually the slaw crunch is crisp and the potato is crunch. All right, I'm already a mess, so I might as well just get messier. The secret's out. It's out of the sandwich because it's all over my hands. I love my Secret Ranch. I love my turkey sandwich. Special thanks again to Humboldt Fog for sponsoring this episode. You can find Cypress Grove Humboldt Fog at your favorite grocer or specialty store. Details in the link below. Mwah. What are they? Hello, my little sandwickens. This is Carla, and I'm here again in my kitchen today making a sweet and spicy short rib sandwich. That is the name that I gave this dish, even though I really don't know what this sandwich is. It has ground meat, but it's not a patty. There's a marinade, but it goes in afterwards. There's focaccia, but it's not a panini. And there's quickles, but all they have on them is lemon juice. And where I ended up was with a really weird thing that tasted really amazing when you put it all together. So if someone has a better name for what I have made, please let me know. And I claim to have invented nothing. So if this is an existing sandwich that somehow I put together from these various elements, please tell me what the real sandwich is and where I can go get it. In the meantime, if you like adventure as much as I do, please come along. I'm gonna tell you something right off the top, and you can get mad at me if you want to, I don't really care. The short rib in the sweet and spicy short rib sandwich is ground short rib. Here it is, full transparency. It's just a naming. I named it that, and it does have short ribs in it. I'm using colatura today, which is an Italian fish sauce. If you don't have colatura, just use fish sauce. They're both made from anchovies. I am adding to that sugar because we need sweet, we have funky, we have spicy in our red chili flake, and sour. It is like a dressing, but it's kind of like a marinade, except it is what goes on the meat after the meat is cooked. I'm gonna grate in 1 clove of garlic, and I'm also adding half of a sliced shallot. Can I use the whole shallot? Is there a reason why I can't use the whole one?
This is your sandwich.
I'm gonna use it. I'm changing the recipe. We're gonna use the whole shallot. You can do this by hand, obviously. The mandolin was right nearby. Once the shallot goes in, I want to toss to coat. The shallot's going to release more liquid, so it's going to amp up this marinade. And I'm using this marinade today as an after marinade, but all of the flavors in here would be really, really great for a before marinade. I've got my 10-inch cast iron skillet preheated. I want it really, really, really screaming hot because my goal is to get some nice browning on the meat without overcooking it and keeping it really nice and juicy. So I have my 1 pound of ground short rib blend over here. I'm gonna season this top side and then season it some more, just using kosher salt. Need a little bit of vegetable oil to coat the pan. Also help me figure out if it's hot enough. First thing I'm gonna do as soon as it hits the pan is use my spoon, my spatula to really press down, mash it into the pan while kind of breaking it up at the same time. So it's mashed against the surface of the pan. The pan is really hot. Immediately fat is starting to render out from the beef. Steam is rising. If you want to use ground dark meat turkey, this would be great with ground pork. This would be great with ground lamb. I have not tried it with a plant-based alt, but you could use that and then use soy sauce instead of the colatura. So once it's smashed down and it's cooking and it's seasoned on the top, I want to leave it alone. You've seen me do this before in pasta with broccoli and sausage. You've seen me do it in the pasta with sausage and cauliflower and big breadcrumbs. You've seen me do it in the spicy gingery beef. This is the ground beef version of Kill It on the first side, where we're gonna max out the payoff and the browning on the side that goes down first, knowing we're never gonna get the color on the second side to match that, but what we will get is like nice, juicy, not overcooked, not dried out. I'm starting to see browning around the edges, the hottest part of the pan. So that's a good sign to kind of peek underneath. And I do have some nice browning happening. We're about 2 to 3 minutes in. I'm just gonna go through, turn the meat over. I don't wanna cook it for much longer than 30 seconds or a minute, just to kind of seal off the second side. Now what I have over here is our fine mesh strainer set over a bowl. Because this is gonna be served room temperature, I don't really want all of that fat to end up in the finished dish. If I was eating a burger, yes, of course, bring me the fat. Once I feel like this is strained pretty well, you can get rid of this and get the meat while it's still hot right into after marinade. So basically this is a warm meat salad right now. As it cools down, it is gonna get tastier and tastier. This meat is just gonna soak up all of those juices. The skillet where I browned the meat is still hanging out over there. The fat is drained off, but I have not wiped out the pan. I'm gonna keep that kind of greased up with that beef fat for toasting the bread later. Back on the road to random inspiration, we have arrived at what I can only describe as a sofrito inspired quick pickle. I have carrots and celery, some scallion, playing part of onion, I guess, and these things are gonna come together to make the crunchy layer on our weirdo alert sandwich. So this is the perfect time to make the quickle because you have to give the meat time to cool down and get more delicious anyway. So if you're fancy, you're gonna cut these on a diagonal. If you're regular, you'll just go crosswise. Regular is good, fancy is great. If you don't like celery, pick a different crunchy vegetable. You could use a radish, you could use some fennel, double up on the carrot. You could cut the carrot crosswise into coins, or you could cut it into matchsticks. I have this handy dandy peeler that a friend sent to me, and it makes it really easy to make julienne. So we doth enjoy that. I like to hold on to the narrow end and then just dragging along, and look, just perfect little matchsticks. So fast, so fun. Carrots going in. Finally, I've got scallions. I'm gonna use not all the green, but a lot of the green. Yeah, we could be fancy over here too. Red onion would be nice here, any oniony thing. This recipe is already steppy, so I don't want to make it complicated, which is why these are seasoned with lemon juice and salt. And that's really all they need. They're crunchy, they're bright, they're acidic, and they're salty. And that is what you want in your sandwich. I'm gonna use my handy dandy tongs because I have them. Of course, I would just like to put my hands in here right away. It's already so juicy down on the bottom of the bowl. And we have a sofrito quickle. I have toasted my focaccia in my leftover beef fat, and it's delicious and gorgeous. In the workshopping of this sandwich, I tried it on baguette, which was good, but not soft enough. And then a roll was like too soft. And so focaccia was, you know, for the win. In order to build, we're going mayo and Calabrian chili on both sides. The mayo ended up being very important. There's no cheese, but cheese with meat does make sense, especially when you have like loose vegetable bits flying around. It anchors everything and it also like mellows everything out. The mayonnaise is playing that part of being like your grounding, rich, creamy element. Okay, so bottom layer, sofrito quickle. This is a pound of ground beef. Depending on you and your friends and your family, this is either 4 sandwiches or 2 sandwiches. So now I have my after marinated meat. The way I want you to think about this is like there's 2 kinds of people. There's people who are gonna go out and party all night, and the day before they do that, they're gonna drink just an insane amount of water and electrolytes, and they're gonna get super hydrated, and then they're gonna party. And then there's the people who just end up at the party, and then the next day they have to go to the place where you get an IV and a B vitamin shot. This is the people who they live their life and they take care of what they need to take care of after. So all the value after the party. And then I did not want to put lettuce on this. I already had something crunchy. It needed something herbaceous. We're already in Italy. Basil leaves over the top. This is your herby crunch factory. You could use other herbs here. I think that cilantro would be really delicious. I think that parsley would be good too. The basil though has like that sweetness that it makes it really nice. Oh, I built it upside down. Sticks. Okay, well, pretend that this is the top and the bottom is the bottom. Now, final step, cutting the sandwich in half. You're gonna cut it on a diagonal, unless you're a total psychotic monster, in which case, feel free to go straight across. Behold, sweet and spicy short rib sandwich. It's delicious, it's nutritious, it's crunchy. I'm gonna take a bite. I feel like what I did was I made a weird as hell thing that is the kind of thing that you make when you're at home and you have a bunch of different ingredients and you're hungry and you just like start mixing and matching and then you make a thing that's weird as But what I did was I did it intentionally on part of a creative journey that I was on. And then I decided to not only make it into a real recipe, but to also commit it to another performative, elemental plane of existence and turn it into a video. So it's random, but it also deserved its place in the spotlight because something that's delicious that you want to eat again, that's how you graduate to the real world. So welcome into existence, crazy weirdo alert of a sandwich. Hello, statespeople, it's Carla, and I am here once again in my kitchen asking you to make one of my recipes. Today, I'm going to be making Carla's Californication Dreamin sandwich. This is my take on a California veggie, and it is truly one of the few regional foods that I can stake a claim to. I will not be bound by your state's constitution when making this sandwich. We are in autonomous waters now. We're building on focaccia. There's chev, delicious lettuces that are lemony, pickled vegetables, sprouts, and of course, delicious bread on top. I'm very happy to say that today's episode of Carla's Cooking Show was made in partnership with Leclerc Creamery, which produces extremely delicious and very creamy goat cheese using fresh goat's milk locally sourced from Wisconsin farmers. For my take on this iconic California veggie sandwich, I wanted to use a goat cheese that was really creamy and would spread beautifully into the bread to anchor all of the crunchy and pickled things that I was gonna layer on top, but it was equally important that that chev have its own gorgeous flavor. And I also wanted a cheese that was gonna taste as fresh as everything else that I put in the mix. Thank you so much to Leclerc Creamery for inspiring this brand new recipe. Honestly, I did not even have California veggie on my brain until I tasted the cheese and then remembered how much I love this sandwich and wanted to put them together to make something new. I'm super happy with how it turned out. You can find more info on Leclerc's products in the video description, and I personally am ready to go make a sandwich. First liberty I am taking with this sandwich is pickling my vegetables. Normally in a California veggie, it's raw veg, which is very crunchy, but almost too crunchy actually. And you just feel like you're biting into a lot of raw vegetables that aren't dressed. So the advantage of the pickle is that it tenderizes the vegetable, it softens it up, and it makes it like more pliable and way more flavorful. And the pickled veg in the mix was also inspired by another legendary and iconic sandwich called the Scuttlebutt, which was made at Brooklyn's Salty restaurant back in the day. I used to go there all the time. I was obsessed with this sandwich. It is filled with vegetables. It was vegetarian, and it had pickled beets, and I love them. So I want to pickle my vegetables. My state, my house, my rules. You know, I am the master of my own sandwich. To my pickling liquid, that was cider vinegar and water, sugar, mustard, caraway, a little chili for heat, which I'll crumble as it goes in there, and kosher salt. So this is a hot brine. This has to come to a boil to dissolve the sugar and the salt. It boils for a minute, and in the meantime, I can start prepping my veggies. Carrots are very typical California veggie. You usually see them julienned like in a block, and it looks like just a stack of carrot bricks. Julienning is a little bit tedious, and I was just feeling like changing things. I feel like if you're gonna change an iconic sandwich and make people upset, go all the way with it. When someone says to me, Carla, go all the way with your vegetable creativity, you know what comes to mind for me? Zoodles. You don't necessarily think zoodle when someone says, you know, do whatever you want. But I felt like zoodling, so we're gonna zoodle. Normally you don't want like the big honkin' horse carrots, but for zoodling you definitely do. Oh, this thing's genius. Can you tell I borrowed the zoodler? Okay, you get the idea. So you're gonna do that with 2 carrots, and they're going into a heat-proof jar because this will have a hot brine poured over it, and they'll hold in the fridge for probably 5 days. Stay nice and crunchy and probably get more flavorful as they sit. The brine is boiling and the sugar is dissolved. So I'll just put it over here and let it sit while I finish up the beets. If you get the beets with the greens, definitely save your greens. And you can use them in any recipe that calls for spinach or Swiss chard pesto perhaps. They're in the same family as those other vegetables, so they will be a really great swap. I am using yellow beets, and I've got some pickles already made in various colors. You can use any color beet you find, and especially in the summer when they're growing, there's so many cool varieties. There's striped ones, there's red ones, there's these yellow ones. If you didn't find beets or you truly don't like using them, other vegetables that you could use would be turnips, radishes also come in like tons of different colors in the summer. Daikon would be great. Kohlrabi, pickled kohlrabi, although not as colorful. But any like nice, hard, sturdy vegetable that you can pickle will work. I'm gonna use my mandolin to get the beets into thin slices. I'm not gonna go paper thin because I want the texture, and if they're just paper thin and then they're pickled, they'll feel flimsy. Gorgeous couple of beets going into a separate jar. The reason that I'm pickling separately, it's the same exact brine, is just so the color of the beet, especially with red beets, doesn't dye the other vegetable that you've done. I've also got a shallot, and I'm gonna split the shallot between both jars. It's nice to do these in rounds. This is like a good amount of prep work for a sandwich. This is not like you just came into the kitchen and decided you're gonna have a California veggie, because the brine and the pickles need to sit for like an hour. But once you have the pickled veggies in the house, you can make the California veggie anytime you want. But it's a sandwich worth like planning for. It's special and iconic and delicious and vegetarian. I'm sure there's vegan goat cheeses out there. And like, it's really just some slicing and dicing. So just eyeball half of them over there. Half of them over here. Now for the moment you've all been waiting for, the moment when I try to pour hot pickle brine into a jar without using anything, because I'm that person. Gotta just commit. It's like flipping an omelet or something. All the mustard seeds are in this one. So at this point, I just like to use a chopstick or a skewer or whatever. Just make sure to push the veggies down. You want them covered with brine. The chopstick is also nice for just making sure the spices are evenly distributed. At this point, the brine in the jar is still warm. I want to wait until the brine has cooled down, giving the pickles a little time to get pickly. You don't want to put a hot pickle on a sandwich. So if you're sandwiching ahead, let this come down to room temperature, then throw the lids on them, put them in the fridge. And if you want to sandwich today, by the time you kind of clean the lettuce and get the other things together, these will be down to room temp. It will be Californication Dreamin' time. All right, let's talk about cheese. I'm not gonna say that I didn't do like any research and looking up what's in an original California veggie, but like the fact is nobody really knows what the original California veggie is. The cheese question and the avocado question kind of got turned into one question for me. A lot of people feel that there should be avocado, and I knew right from the start that I was not putting avocado in this sandwich, and I'll tell you why. Having a ripe avocado is something that like the lightning really has to strike, and it can be so disappointing. And I didn't want to build in like letting you down in advance. So that meant that I didn't know what my creamy layer was going to be. The cheese often is Munster or Jack, which are great cheeses. But let's be honest, in the sandwich itself, when you have the avocado and you have kind of a waxier cheese, what ends up happening is that cheese layer kind of compresses down to this like waxy layer that you bite through, and it doesn't really have a lot of flavor payoff. So I have a delicious Chev fresh goat cheese from goat's milk that is fantastically creamy. It's at room temperature. You don't have to plan ahead for it. It is RTG, and I'm just gonna sass it up a little bit with some flavors. This is plain goat cheese. If you find a garlic and herb goat cheese, you could go ahead and use that, and you would not have to add the garlic and the chive that I'm about to put in here, but I would still add the other seasonings. As always, raw garlic could be a little bit optional. I've also got a lemon. The juice is gonna turn up later. And for the cheese mixture, I'm just taking the zest. There were a bunch of people in my DMs when I posted about this sandwich. It was really split 50-50 about the avocado. Some people were like, I'm from California and I'm so happy that you're not putting avocado in it. And then other people were like, I am from California, and if you don't put almond butter, tempeh, avocado, alfalfa sprouts, and like you know, spirulina dust from an exhaled, you know, guru, then it's not really California veggie. We just have to go, we have to forge our own path here. So that is the zest of an entire lemon. I'm also going to add some thinly sliced chives, which is a challenging group of words for a person with a little bit of a lisp. I like the chive and goat cheese energy with the lemon, and I think chive, because there's shallot in the pickle, you've got another allium, so I really like, that's why I chose chives. So now this cheese layer becomes also like a fresh layer because it's fresh goat cheese and there's fresh lemon and there's fresh chive. I would eat this literally on a cracker. In fact, I did eat it. When I was developing the recipe, I had extra goat cheese mixture lying around and I kept toasting toast and just putting this on it. It was very yummy. Into this, just for a little more lusciousness, unctuousness, roundness, a couple tablespoons of olive oil. Pickles are working. Spread is made. Bread on deck. We get to assemble. The other fresh, delicious things in the California veggie are some gorgeous lettuces and fresh basil. I feel like herbs are very customary, and anyway, I just think they're delicious. I'm just kind of like bumping up my lettuce with some basil. And this is the same zested lemon from before. Seasoning this with some salt. This is flaky salt. You could use kosher salt. Little peps. I'm gonna toss with the lemon juice first and then add the oil so that the lemon juice is like nice and stuck and adhered to the lettuce before the olive oil comes in. I think I am using a California olive oil today. What do you know? The bread that I am using today is focaccia. A lot of times the California veggie is on some kind of super seedy, you know, whole wheat vibe. I love that energy, but going back to the salty sandwich called the scuttlebutt from the days of yore, that one was built on focaccia. I just want to honor that sandwich by using focaccia today. It's got like a nice amount of fat in it. It's gonna go really well with the goat cheese, so love focaccia. It's not a sandwich without mayonnaise, and you should use as much or as little as you like, but mayonnaise is going down top and bottom. If you don't like mayo, you don't have to use mayo. I think vegan mayo is gonna be a very nostalgic, very on-brand choice. I'm using Hellmann's, but I do love me some veganese. No layer has been unadulterated. This is cayenne. I like a little heat, top and bottom. So to divide up the goat cheese mixture evenly, it's gonna end up being about 2 tablespoons on the top and the bottom. When I was working on this, I was like, it's too much, but I'll show you. It's not too much. I was like, it's too much. And then I made it and I ate it and I was like, it's the right amount. Building from the bottom. Make sure everybody gets a basil and a nice layer of lettuce. I have some pickles that were made yesterday, so they're different colors. So we'll just have a medley. Getting like some of the juicy pickle juice to me is like part of the beauty. I made the sandwich a couple different ways. I did have wedges of carrot at the beginning. I did have matchsticks, and it's fun, but they have a tendency to like slide on this smooth beet layer. And so part of the beauty of the zoodle is that it compresses and has this like texture, so it can kind of grip into the nooks and crannies. It's like the tread. The carrot is playing the role of a tread on your sneaker. Plus, come on. Even if you hate zoodles, like, they're pretty fun. Sprouts going in. Why did I choose bean sprouts instead of alfalfa sprouts? Alfalfa sprouts are, I would say, more traditional, but they're so stringy. Dressing for the sprouts to get a little love. Mayo, goat cheese. lettuce, pickled beets, pickled carrot, sprouts. Close her up. Cheese on top. I never said it wasn't messy. My promises to you were fresh and delicious. The only way to cut a sandwich in half is on a diagonal. So it's like he's a 10, but he cut his California veggie sandwich into 2 rectangles. Red flags. What else wrong are you doing? Boopy boo. Like, why can't a veggie, beautiful veggie, healthy sandwich also be drip down your arms messy, like a juicy burger or an overloaded any kind of sandwich? Ooh, this one looks so good to me. Carla's Californication Dreamin veggie sandwich with bonus zoodles. You know what it is? How often is a sandwich succulent? It's a succulent sandwich. It's pickly and juicy and fresh and crunchy. California Sandwich Kitchen. That's where we just went. Anarchy is good. Go your own way. If your sandwich isn't in your constitution, it's up for interpretation in the other 49 states. And most importantly, don't forget to vote. Hey guys, it's Carla. I'm here again in my kitchen for another episode of That Sounds So Good, which is my book, and it is also me making recipes from my book. And today I am going to make a recipe that is also just a true statement. Everybody loves a chicken cutlet. That's the name of the recipe, and that is something that is just truth. Every time it's cutlet night, everybody is so psyched. The thing about chicken cutlets is that when they're good for all the same reasons. They're crispy, they're juicy, they're super well seasoned. And when they suck in all the same ways. They're dry, they're crumbly, they're bland, and the crispy breading has somehow turned into like wet sand. So I'm gonna show you a few things that I do to make sure my cutlets are super crispy, super juicy, super delicious. And then, as if that wasn't enough, I'm gonna pair it with one of my favorite sauces from the book, creamy spicy sauce, also two great things that go great together. And then I'm gonna show you how to do that, but work it up into a fried chicken sandwich. Because if everybody loves a chicken cutlet, it then follows that everybody loves a fried chicken cutlet sandwich. So it is cutlet night in America. Let's eat. Juicy and flavorful are going to be impacted right up at the top by the choice of the chicken part that you do. First things first, I'm using thighs. I'm a thighman. I suggest that you become a thighman too. A lot of times the chicken cutlet is boneless, skinless chicken breast. I am sorry, but they are less juicy and they are less flavorful. So plastic wrap here. First thing I want to do is kind of just like suss out my chicken thigh. Yes, they're boneless, skinless. There's some bigger pieces of fat over there. I don't really care about that. I'm just going to show one right now, but you can definitely put like 2 or 3 under in between here. The only thing that's different about a chicken thigh from like skinless, boneless, you do need to kind of even out the chicken thigh. So it's a little bit thicker on the sides and thinner in the middle. I'm just using the meat mallet to kind of equalize the thick and thin so that it cooks through evenly at the same rate. That wasn't hard. And if you're feeling at all squeamish, of course we have the latex glove. These are the wrong size. It doesn't matter. But this way, you know, you can kind of like handle it a little bit. Sometimes there will just be a thing that needs to just come off. Having a sheet above and below means that when you smack the chicken, it spreads out instead of just like sticking to your surface. So the goal is not to make like the thinnest cutlet you could ever make, because we want there to be something to bite into. I want there to be juiciness in the middle. So really the goal is just to even out the thinness and the thickness to where it's more or less the same everywhere. But it does not have to be paper thin. This isn't chicken parm. Okay. Even though I have Everybody Loves a Chicken Cutlet in the Monday through Thursday section of the book, so technically I do think of this as like a weeknight dinner, it is a special night. And the reason why it is a special night is because of this, because of the breading. You gotta commit. So I think the easiest way to do it is just full assembly line. I've got raw chicken on one side, I have all the steps for the breading, and then I have a landing pad over there. It goes really quickly. It's just like part of it. It's just something you have to do. In a normal 3-step dredge, it's very typical to have regular all-purpose flour, then egg wash, and then breadcrumbs. I'm using panko because I just love their texture. They're shaggy and craggy and get like super crispy. I've got whole eggs, which I'm about to whisk. And then in the process of working on this recipe, I was like, okay, we always use all-purpose flour, but what are the other things that you could use in that layer? I did some side-by-side comparisons between all-purpose flour, cornstarch, potato flour, mung bean flour, and the potato starch, it kept everything glued down the best, and it kept the breading crispier longer. So that's how we ended up with half a cup of potato starch in this recipe. Potato starch also used in a lot of gluten-free cooking. This is about half a cup. It's like an imprecise measure because it's just enough to bread the cutlets. Also, what is it called? Oobleck? Oobleck, which you can make with like 2 parts potato starch to 1 part water. It's not a solid and it's not a liquid. It's oobleck. Anyway, so once you have it in the house, you know what I mean? You'll find other uses for it. All right. So I'm going to season every layer. Again, a good cutlet is juicy, crispy, and flavorful. So under the category of flavorful, season all of the elements in your dredge. I'm not going to put pepper in the panko because I don't want black flecks. Now for the chicken thighs, these also need to be seasoned. When I was working on the recipe, I tried just salt and pepper. It's good. Salt, pepper, and garlic powder was better. So that's what we're using. Recipe calls for a teaspoon of garlic powder. The story of my life is like 95% of it ends up where it's supposed to, and the other 5% is on the floor. And that is why I have a dustbuster. So the recipe calls for 4 boneless, skinless chicken thighs. I have 5 because that was what was in the package. Like sometimes you open up those shrink wrap packages and they've got 4, and sometimes you open up and they have 5. So I'm making all of them. All right, so now we're seasoned, we're sorted, and I'm going to start breading. Here's what's important, especially the first layer with the potato starch, even thin coating. So if you have like thick parts of the potato starch, that's gonna end up being like a thick gummy part in the breading. And if you have bald spots in the potato starch, the egg won't stick, and then you'll get a little part that has no breading at all. So just take a little care. Okay, second layer, eggs. The important part here is really to let the excess drip off completely. If it's like thick and eggy and too much egg, then you'll just get like wet clumps, and you don't want wet clumps. You want dry and crispy. And then this layer. So make sure the panko is everywhere. Everywhere that you have egg and potato starch, you should have panko. Ideally, you will have more panko than you need for the last cutlet because it's just such a drag to have exactly the amount of panko that you need because it's so hard to get it everywhere when there's only a little left in the plate. Okay, we are seasoned. We are breaded. So we are flavorful and we are on our way to crispy. And the next thing to do is just get these suckers in the oil. So finished dust busting the floor and I'm back. It's fry time. What I've got is a nice wide high-sided skillet. It's preheating a little bit. I want it to be nice and hot. We have our breaded cutlets, and then I've also got a rimmed baking sheet lined with paper towel that's actually sitting on top of a cooling rack. So if you have a cooling rack, you can set up inside of your rimmed baking sheet. If not, paper towel right on the surface is also terrific. And I'm using sunflower oil. You want just a neutral vegetable oil for frying. How much oil you need will depend on the dimensions of the pan, but I'm gonna pour in enough to reach about 1/4 inch. It could be around 1/2 cup. All right, I'm shimmering. It feels hot. I hear the radiating of the heat, and I'm just gonna drop a little panko in. Want to see it bubble and rise up to the surface, like pretty much immediately. All right, let's get some cutlets in the oil. Just be careful when you add them to the oil. You never want to drop a cutlet into oil. Just want to lay it in there. I'm looking for a lot of bubbling active, which is happening. I'm looking for browning around the edges before I turn these. Cutlets, unlike a steak or a pork chop, they don't really hold up to being turned back and forth. You really just want to turn them when they're golden on one side and finish them on the second side. Because they're so thin, in the time it takes for the breadcrumbs to get really nice and toasty, I feel very confident that the meat will be cooked through as well. Should take about 2 to 3 minutes per side. I also think it's a good idea to rotate the pan every now and then, just to make sure that if it's a little hotter over there, that you're equalizing that by turning it. Almost. Underside looks amazing. Actually, I'm gonna use spatula. I don't want to break off my beautiful coating. I'm gonna salt it while it's there. I mean, hot and crispy have been achieved. That is for sure. And now that they are hot and crispy, it's time to build sandwiches and find out if they are also juicy and flavorful. Okay, so my spicy creamy sauce for the cutlets was heavily influenced by the creamy spicy sauce in the Nobu cookbook, which I have had like since it came out, so plus or minus 7,000 years ago. And when I took it out today to talk about it, I saw this inscription. His creamy spicy sauce is essentially like handmade mayonnaise that you spike with chili garlic sauce. In my version, I switched it up a little bit. I'm gonna start with 1/2 cup of plain Greek yogurt. If you have regular plain yogurt, maybe just set it in a fine mesh strainer, like when you're gonna start on your prep, and let some of the water drain. That'll thicken it up. And so to that, I'm going to add a teaspoon of soy, a teaspoon of rice vinegar, unseasoned rice vinegar preferably, a tablespoon of sambal. I got this sambal at a Malaysian food store in Queens. I bought it because it's not sambal olek, which is the one that I'm used to. This one is sambal geprek, specifically made for serving with fried chicken. So I thought, why wouldn't I just use this one for fried chicken cutlet night? This is pretty hot, but I like the sauce spicy. Look how gorgeous. Tablespoon of that. And this is QP mayo. You've probably seen it, had it. It is a very delicious seasoned mayo. It definitely has MSG in it and tastes really, really good. I was always disappointed the first time I ever bought QP to realize that the guy isn't printed on the bottle. So I need 2 tablespoons. Creamy and spicy. It's essentially what you're working with here. This creamy spicy is just like a great sauce for having around. Anything fried is gonna taste good dipped in this, or if you are someone who mixes mayo and sriracha together, anytime that you would do that, you can do this. I'm gonna add some salt. Woo, baby. It's gonna be good because there's gonna be like a lot of fatty flavors, and then there's gonna be crunchy cabbage. Sometimes spiciness can be tempered with sweetness, so I'm adding a pinch or two of sugar. So just last touch, just a little drizzle of sesame oil. And this just adds like a toastiness, a little bit more richness. Okay, so that's super fast to come together, and it's going to be an awesome layer in these chicken sandwiches. So there's two kinds of crunchy in the finished sandwich. There's like hot and crunchy, and then there's cold and crispy. And the cold and crispy is gonna come from this shredded cabbage. I'm not doing much to it. Whatever cabbage, just something super crunchy and cold and acidic is what you're looking for in this sandwich. Gorgeous. Look at that ombre. I mean, come on. Yum. Okay, I think that's plenty. It's cold, it's fluffy, it's crunchy, it's frilly. So for this, I'm going to season it with white distilled vinegar. You could use any kind of vinegar that you have. I love white distilled because it's just like in your face acidity, but the same rice vinegar from the creamy spicy sauce would be terrific. White wine vinegar, sherry vinegar. Just don't use balsamic vinegar. I think that would just be weird. Salty, sour, crunchy, and very sweet. This is delicious. Cabbage is going to be great on the sandwich. So now let's build some sandwiches. These are brioche buns. You can use any kind of like sandwich bun that you like. I just think something that has a soft texture is a nice companion for the crispy and the juicy. Creamy spicy sauce, looking great. Okay. Cutlet. Come on. Jesus, Mary Joseph. Okay. I just drooled a little bit. Bon me. Looks pretty good. It's not like a crazy abundance of cabbage. I guess there could be more. We'll find out. Ta-da! I'm gonna try it. You're gonna get my opinion. You have no right being not delicious. I'm almost like mad at it. It's like rude. It's like, you. I can't deal with you. It's too good. So this is something that really bothers me when a cutlet is bad. You have that separation between the breading and the chicken thigh itself, or the chicken breast, where it's like an air pocket has opened up and then there's just a layer of gummy, wet weirdness. And I'm just saying, with the potato starch, it never happens. So it's just snug as a bug in a rug. Fused. Leo, yes. Come. Chicken cutlet, as you've had before. And then there's crunchy cabbagey situation and spicy creamy sauce. Please have a bite. I'll have another bite since you're here. So if you had an imaginary checklist, juicy, crunchy, flavorful. Well, that's amazing.
Well, great. Thanks for having me.
You can take that to go.
Cool, bye.
Thanks so much. That's the guy. That's the only opinion that matters. And yours, of course. So let me know. Were the people happy? Were you happy? Was it worth it? Sound off. All the reviews are welcome, but the 5-star reviews are really highly appreciated. Cutlet Night in America. I hope it's coming up soon. Okay. It's assembly time. I'm so nervous and excited. I like a little bit of spicy. Flour, buttermilk, panko. Hey guys, it's Carla. I'm here again in my kitchen, and today I'm going to make a crispy fish sandwich with a special, very special tartar sauce. It all happens in a cast iron skillet. You will never worry about cooking fish again, period. It's a true story. So I've been on a cast iron journey for a little while now, kind of coming up with all of the ways that cast iron skillets can be used, all of the service that they can deliver unto you. And there's so many ways that they sear, that they roast, that they bake even. But this episode is dedicated to pan frying in a cast iron skillet, which is just one of the great ways to use it. Once it gets up to temperature, it holds temperature. They're very generously sized. They have these nice high walls for holding any oil that you put into them, any splattering and scattering that is going on. While this is a fantastic way to cook fish, I also am very aware and very appreciative of all the plant-based people out there. So I will also, in addition to some fish fillets, I will show you how to do this with a tofu fillet. Over here, you see I have some beautiful flounder. Over here, I have some tofu, firm tofu that I've already sliced, and it is being pressed upon, which is really doing it a service. To make tofu crispy, just pressing out the excess liquid that it holds within itself. Why is this tartar more special than other tartars? It has some of my favorite things, including buttermilk, pickles, and seaweed. What more could you ask for? Before we get into the fish, the tofu's gonna hang out. I'm gonna concentrate on the tartar. So fish go away. First up, a cup of sour cream. If you don't have sour cream, you could use plain yogurt. Creme fraiche. You could use a plant-based yogurt, but I'm using sour cream because it's tangy and because it's really creamy. Then I need a 1/4 cup of buttermilk. I always have buttermilk in the house. It is also tangy. It is lowish fat as compared to regular milk. And it's just really, really great in creamy sauces. So like onion dips, great in ranch dressings, in pancakes, and it kind of never goes bad. So investing in some buttermilk is a really great idea. You can keep it parked in the back of your fridge and it will hang out. 1/4 cup of mayonnaise. All right, so that's our foundation. Now we need salty, crunchy, sour things. First up, these are papaya peppers. They're a little green Spanish pepper. They're not super spicy. A pepperoncino would work instead. Banana peppers, just green pepper rings are great. Just a spicy pickled pepper. So I'm just gonna cut these. They have brine in them, and I want whatever juices come out of it, I wanna get into the sauce too.
That's really good.
Woo! They're bitter and spicy. And sour.
Oh, electric.
Look, man, there's a lot of creamy stuff you gotta cut through. And that's what that pepper is doing. Texture and dun, 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 dun. You need that. Another kind of pickle, the cornichon. You could use a regular dill pickle, half sour, full sour, just a crunchy pickle. 2 tablespoons of capers. I like the salt-packed capers because they tend to be a little bit bigger, and I just like their kind of that dry, meaty texture. If a store had both, I would buy these. If they didn't, the other ones are gonna be totally fine. But drain them. I want the creaminess, saltiness, brininess. If I didn't add all these pickled things, it would just be a bowl of thinned out sour cream, which is, you know, not bad, but this is gonna be better. All right, next up, onion powder. If you don't have onion powder, you can use garlic powder, or you could omit it. Salt and pepper, and then furikake. Delicious pairing. So normally this is really traditionally and typically put over rice as a rice seasoning, but the sesame seeds and the nori go with the fish flavor. They also go with this kind of oniony, creamy vibe. And so I tried it and it was delicious. So That's what makes this tartar super special. 3 tablespoons. If you didn't find furikake in the stores that you are shopping in, you could also just use toasted sesame seeds, or you could buy the little seaweed snacks and cut them up into little pieces with a pair of shears, and that would be a pretty close approximation. There is usually salt in them too, so just add a little bit extra salt. A little bit of green chili sauce. You can use any kind of hot sauce, but I like a little bit of spicy. If you don't like spicy, leave this out. Just a little other, also pickled vinegary flavor that also has spice. So now it's got ocean vibes because of the seaweed. I just think it's delicious. Even if you're not in it for any of the other stuff that's coming after this, this is a great crudité dip. The other thing that the furikake is giving is awesome, awesome texture because it's got the crunchy sesame seeds and the nori flake. So it's delivering a lot as a condiment. All right, that's done. Tartar sauce is gonna go in the fridge, and I'm gonna get set up to do the dredging and the frying. The fish I'm using today is flounder. I like flounder because the fillets are relatively thin, but it's a nice firm fish that has like a great texture. It's not gonna totally flake and fall apart. If you can't find flounder, a skinless red snapper, black sea bass, a thin fillet of hake or cod. Porgy would work if you can get your hands on some porgy. This was a beautiful, pretty big fish, and so the fillets they're long, and this is basically 2 portions. So now I'm going to set up my dredging station for the fish, but also for the tofu, and I'm going to be using buttermilk, flour, and breadcrumbs. Often you see a 3-step dredge, like for making a cutlet with flour, egg, and breadcrumb. Instead of the egg, because I already had buttermilk in the very special tartar, I figured why not use buttermilk for coating the fish instead of eggs, which appear nowhere else in the recipe and seem extraneous. So we're just getting double buttermilk power. Pie plates work great for this. Small rimmed baking sheets, kind of like these, work great for this. I have dinner plates that have a little bit of a lip, and so that is what I often use. Flour, buttermilk, panko. Cup of flour, that's all purpose. If you have bread flour and you're out of all purpose, that's fine. If you have Wondra, which is the very fine flour, that is also fine. Probably gluten-free flour is also fine because all it's doing is providing like a dry place for the buttermilk to adhere. 3/4 cups buttermilk for the plate. Panko, AKA Japanese breadcrumbs. If you have fresh breadcrumbs that you made yourself, that is fantastic. Please use them. Unseasoned, regular old breadcrumbs, that is also fine. I like panko because it has this really great, big, deeply shaggy texture, and it just makes things come out really, really crispy. So I need 1.5 cups. I'm a tiny bit shy. 1.5 cups. Salt and pepper. I'm gonna season the protein itself, and then I'm gonna season it after it's cooked. Also a little bit of onion powder. It's just delicious. It adds another extra little bit of something. Exact same seasonings happening on the tofu, also being aggressive because tofu has a flavor, but it is mild. So I wanna amp it up. You can wear gloves if you want. Not gonna do it. Here's the key things. Putting the fish into the flour, all of the sides, okay? And then you don't want to go from here straight into the buttermilk with all these kind of thick and thin parts of the flour. Just pat that excess off. The kind of thin evenness of this is going to lead to thin evenness of everything that comes after. So it's just a light coating, but it's everywhere. Then buttermilk. Dippy dips. I guess you could use nut milk if you're doing the vegetarian vegan thing. I don't see why not. This is just about a liquid adherence that is then a place for the breadcrumbs to stick. And then really packing the breadcrumbs on. So don't be afraid to press down, go back and forth a couple times if you need to. That's it, bread it all over. and then onto that cooling rack. Now I have this situation, and we just keep going. I need more breadcrumb. And that's why we keep the panko nearby, and just make sure you have a little extra. So here's a true thing about this tofu. I've never breaded and fried tofu before. So if you're a vegetarian and you've done it and you know what I'm doing is wrong, thank you for coming on this journey with me. We love our plant-based people, so we're gonna have 2 fry stations. Vegetarian fry and the fish fry. This one's 12 inches, this one is 10. I'm gonna do the tofu in here. The goal here, heating these up medium high. I'm gonna fry in peanut oil, which I love, but any vegetable oil, canola oil, avocado oil, safflower oil, any of those oils is going to work. Just a neutral oil that is not very expensive because you're gonna use like a cup of it. So the goal is to have about a 1/4 inch of oil in the bottom of the pan, nice and hot, fry, crispy, both sides. Bingo bango, Bob's your uncle. My pan is hot. I can feel heat radiating off of it. That is how I know. I can see some smoke coming, which means that the oil that is part of the pan's patina has gotten hot enough to start smoking. I'm going to add my oil. What's a 1/4 inch? I don't know. It's an amount that I'm eyeballing. It's very clear to me that this oil is hot enough, but if you're not sure if your oil is hot enough, take a little piece of the breadcrumb and drop it into the hot oil. And if it starts bubbling, sizzling, and floating right away, you are good to go. The only thing to be careful about as you're putting food into the pan is not to splash it, right? Because you have a certain amount of depth. This is heavy. You don't want to splash hot oil on yourself, so gently placing or sliding in. Putting it down, going away from me, so if it did splash, it would splash that way. The tofu looks really, really great. I'm very pleased. One guy got a little bit darker than I would have liked, but we're okay with that. Everybody is scooching freely and not sticking and getting really crispy and brown. The fish, same story. I see a lot of beautiful browning around the edges. I did a little shaky of the pan just to make sure nobody was sticking. This is very forgiving. If you've ever had a piece of fish that adhered itself to the pan and then you tried to turn it over and it stuck and then it ripped in half, and that was a big bummer because fish isn't cheap. That's not going to happen here. And it's not cooking for long enough to ever dry out. So it's going to be really tender and very like delicious and juicy, brown and crispy. It's no fail. The tofu is completely cooked. There's no part of me that is like, I have to make sure it's cooked through. It's hot, it's crispy, it's golden brown on both sides. It's coming out. And then the safest way to dispose of hot oil is to not dispose of hot oil. Turn the pan off, hot oil, let it cool down. Then you can dispose of it when it's cold oil. These guys also look at mighty fine. So this fish is so thin that it's very fast cooking. And so again, those cues, like by the time the breadcrumb coating is nice and brown and golden brown, it was a very hot pan, they're cooked. Like I'm not at all in any part of me worried that they're not going to be cooked in the center. I could get a little more color. That guy seems done. Back with the furikake. I'm going to use that as like a fish seasoning also. So it's in our delicious special tartar, but it's also a great little topper. Talking sandwich texture now. Hot and crispy and juicy. We have cold, fatty, creamy, and also crunchy. The thing that's really going to take it home is going to be crunchy in a different way, in like a watery way. And what's colder and crunchier and waterier than iceberg lettuce? Nothing. And I don't want shredded lettuce either, AKA shreddis, because when something hot hits shreddis, it turns into wettis. And it's gross and slimy. So I want an iceberg slab. Cut crosswise into slabs. It's got a lot of texture going for it, but iceberg has never been known for an assertive flavor or anything like that. So yeah, everybody's seasoned. Buns, hun. These are nice, soft, like egg bun. Ideally, you would use something soft and squishy like milk bread. Japanese milk bread would be totally amazing. Or another kind of soft roll like a Kaiser roll would also be fine. Or any kind of hoagie roll. Hot dog bun, I don't care, do what you want. Okay, it's assembly time. I'm so nervous and excited.
Someone wants to make a sandwich.
Okay, so this is how I want this to go. Special tartar, then you do a slab. Filet o fish, and more sauce on top. Oh, hi. Oh, hey. Hi, I love you. How are you doing? I love you too. A little bit of fish coming out the edge. Tell you what you're getting before you get it. You know what I mean? Why should everybody be hidden inside? That's it. Let's make the vegetarian one at the same time. Just again, extremely excited. Okay. Those are the sandwiches. They're both my children and I love them equally, but I'm gonna eat the fish guy first. It has so much texture. The fish is perfectly cooked. It's flaky, in the middle, tenderoni. It's a sandwich you can't stop and talk about it. You just have to keep eating it. Very happy with that. It's also great to be a vegetarian. Something that's really nice about the tofu is it has more textural contrast between the outside and the inside because it's a little bit thicker and it's like creamy but firm in there. So we use firm tofu and it pairs really, really well with the sesame and the nori and the everything else that's going on. So highly recommend both sandwiches. Pick your journey, pick your path. That's it.